Hi there, it's Rosanne here from Chic Paint. In this tutorial, I'd like to show you how to create a glamorous chic finish for dresser tops or other raw wood furniture pieces. Stay tuned to find out how to do it. Today I'm going to demonstrate on this piece of plain raw wood how to give it a modern look with a mix of glaze, paint and wax. The supplies I'll be using today are Tiger's Eye and Smokey Quartz glaze. We're also going to be using two different paint colors, Lazy Linen and Pebble Beach. In addition, we'll be using our pearl glaze with a wax brush as well as some hemp oil. And of course some paint brushes and stir sticks and a lint-free rag. This technique works best with natural wood that doesn't have any stains or finishes on it. So if you're working with a varnished or a painted piece, then you want to make sure that you remove the finish completely before you start this technique. To start, I'm going to deepen the wood color by applying some glaze to it. The first glaze I'm going to apply is Tiger's Eye, which is a nice warm orangey brown color. I'm going to apply one coat with a paintbrush and then wipe off the excess with a damp rag. Once my Tiger's Eye glaze coat has dried, after about 30 minutes or so, I'm going to add a bit more depth to apply another glaze color on top of this glaze. I'm going to use our Smoky Quartz glaze. Just like with the last layer, I'm brushing on one coat before I use a damp rag to wipe off the excess. Don't you love how it brings out the details in the wood? After applying both glazes, you'll want to let it sit for about an hour to 2 hours or so. You just want to make sure that it's completely dry before you go on to the next step. Now that we have deepened the wood color, I'm going to make the color a bit more delicate by adding a wash of paint. Actually, two different washes of paint. I'm going to start with the color Pebble Beach and pour just a small amount onto a paper plate. Since I'm working in a small area, I'm going to dip my paintbrush in water before I dip it into the paint to thin it down just a little bit. If you're working with a larger piece, you probably want to just stir the paint and the water together in a jar in about a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, so now that my wash is on, I'm just going to take a damp rag and just remove and spread it out more. So what I did is I brushed the watered down paint on my surface and immediately wiped away the excess in the direction of the wood grain with a damp rag. Now, before you do a second wash, you want to leave this to dry until it's completely dry. Otherwise, you're just going to mix the colors. Now that this has completely dried, I'm going to do the same thing again, but this time I'm using the color Lazy Linen. Again, I'm pouring a little bit off on this paper plate and I'm dipping my paintbrush in some water. And then I'm gonna wash my wood with color. If you feel like it's too light or too dark, you can always go back and touch up the color a bit more. Now you want to leave this to dry for about an hour. This piece is now completely dry, so I'm going to give it a couple of final touches to make it a bit more glamorous. I'm gonna use some pearl wax. So I'm just gonna open up the jar, if it opens. There we go. And I'm going to use a stir stick to just scoop some out, as it typically makes it easier. You can use a Chic Paint wax brush or a lint-free rag to apply your wax. So let me just show you what it looks like with the rag. I'm just going to spread it around all across your surface. And you'll see that it adds this subtle hint of shimmer. Now you can let it sit for a while and then buff it, but I prefer to just buff it right away. And you want to buff until it feels no longer sticky. One final step I'm going to take is to seal my project with some of our hemp oil. Hemp oil is a 100% natural furniture finish, and we have another video that tells you all about it, but it has no chemical additives, so it's completely safe to use and completely natural. So I'm gonna put some on my cloth and just wipe it on the surface. You can let this penetrate for about 12 hours and then buff again with the rag to remove any of the excess oil that might be left on the surface. So that's all there is to it. To give you an example of what you can create with this technique, here's a little still that I painted with a tropical cocktail, and then the top of the still is finished with the same technique. It gives it a beautiful glamorous wood top. Isn't it pretty? You can totally pull this off on a dresser top as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a comment if you have any questions or click the like button. If you'd like to find out more about our products and where you can find them, visit our website, countrychicpaint.com. I also recommend that you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials. Thank you so much for watching, and happy painting!